Chris had asked me to say a few things while I was here, so I'll start by saying we sure lost a good one on March 5th, didn't we? Love of classic rock, wild days he had when he was younger, classic cars. And he sure could play guitar and sing. I'll tell you, that man could rock and roll, and he did. About the time he crashed his 1976 Ford Torino, almost died in that one. Vast amount of wealth he generated. I bet you didn't know that. He was very wealthy. I didn't either until I started doing some research on Google, because there's a lot of information about him. So who am I talking about? No Google information on Michael Owens. I don't think he had a vast amount of wealth, but I was referencing Gary Rossington. Maybe the above clues you might have some name recognition with him. So is he? Well, he's a founding member of the band Leonard Skinner. That's who he was. He's a rhythm guitar player and singer. Came with the song Freebird. It's probably been played at a million funerals. Those of his old stories, we know who Leonard Skinner was. Mike did. He enjoyed his music, especially Freebird. So you're probably ready to ask, why am I talking about Gary Rossington? How does he fit into Mike's funeral? Well, just a couple reasons. One, just a little literary device to throw you off, to get you to think, get the old cognitive juices going as we address why we're here, for Mike rather, and a transition. They died on the same day. It's already been a month now, it's hard to believe. And in doing so, we address our own mortality. So most of us think we're in the Riverside Moreno Valley area here at the National Cemetery. How many of you used the internet or the map to get here? I didn't have to. I know this area very well. You know, because the here and now always dominates our day. We give little thought as to the histories we drive by, who was here before us, what this place is all about, who stood on this ground before it became a national cemetery. I've been here before. I've talked on the spot many times. When I first came here in 1968, I was a 10-year-old boy. See, there used to be military housing over here before this big complex of all these buildings and all the busyness that goes on and whatnot. My father was stationed here at the air base. That's how we got here. And out here, because there was no internet at the time, when your parents say go out and play, they really meant it. That meant don't come back, by the way, until dinner. It was safe then for young boys, 9 and 10-year-olds, just to wander all around here. So why this spot? Why did we come here? You see, the fields around here, the housing section, is a World War II era camp. I don't know how many of you knew that. It's named Camp Hahn, H-A-N-N. Initially, it served as a training ground for American soldiers, those that were going abroad to Pearl Harbor, soldiers that were dispatched to Los Angeles and San Francisco to guard our western edge there from any kind of attacks from Japanese. And there were a couple attacks, by the way, if you look up the history. It also served as a prisoner of war camp. This very spot right here, we had 1,200 Italian soldiers from our successful campaigns in North Africa. Sorry, I'm in a rush. He told me I have to get this done. So when I was a little kid, we knew the history then. Our imaginations ran wild. Visions of soldiers and prisoners we conscripted into our playful adventures. And we had many I can still recall, believe it or not, that far ago, 52, 53 years ago. When they decommissioned the Camp Hahn here, they took all the wooden structures, all the wooden buildings with them, but what they couldn't take were all the concrete slabs. And I'm telling you, there are miles of them. The housing area was just right over there, about a mile and a half. We used to play all around it. We used to come over here. So the aggregate that was left behind were all the forms. You could tell what were barracks, what were buildings, what were movie theater, believe it or not. There's an old swimming pool. You could tell it was definitely a swimming pool. It was right around here somewhere. So I did a little research. 8,000 acres of Camp Hahn. There's only 1,200 acres of the cemetery, so it shows you how large it was. And believe it or not, at its peak, it had 80,000 soldiers here. Could you imagine how busy it was? Had a huge hospital, 800-bed hospital. 28 miles of streets, 5 chapels. And what was here, over here the highway, was the big incinerator building complex area. And it had a very tall concrete smokestack. It was mounted on top of this big concrete building. They couldn't take the buildings there, concrete. Wide as its base, it went very high and narrowed up as it went, maybe 100, 125 feet. And on the outside were metal rebar, hand grips and holds on, so you could climb up the exterior. Seemed like it went up to the heavens when you're a little boy looking up. And we challenged ourselves to climb as high as we could up there. We lingered at the bottom, wondering if we could make it to the top. What you got up there, you can see all of Highway 395, which used to be here. You can see the air base, the Brown Mountains, March Mountain in that direction. If you would have fell, it would have been the end of you. My dad would have caught me, it would have been the end of me too. Fortunately, he didn't. But obviously there's no more of that here. The housing area long demolished. Camp Hahn, long gone. Probably no remnants, whatever. I don't remember when I lived in this area as I grew up as an adult when they demolished the smokestack. It just simply wasn't there anymore. As we go through town and we see all the development buildings and we say, hey, look what they put up, oftentimes what we're forgetting is what we don't see, what was once there. And it's gone now. So as you can guess, it's probably not the first graveside talk I've been here. I've been here probably a dozen times for funerals. I could go over to the kiosk and look up some old friends and family names that we used to play and hang out with. And I kind of wish I wouldn't be here anymore at these things, but in a weird way, I hope that I am, so I live on.
And Mike's mom and Jerry are both here.
Are they?
You know, well.
I went and visited my mom, which probably wasn't a good idea before I came over here. I thought I could handle it, but there's just something about being around her. You get that, you feel it, and you should. So I'm thinking of Mike's passing. I thought, why are we so often taken aback by our own mortality? And my only answer is because we're not ready. We're not ready for it to happen. I'm not talking about making wills and getting your business done, make sure the roof doesn't leak. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our spiritual status, our spiritual readiness. But I can tell you, even though Mike was mortally ill and he was sick, I didn't think he was going to go when he did. He was ready. I know he's ready. We talked about it. I spent some time with him just a few days before, back in his bedroom. He wasn't having a good day, so he was laying down. We're sitting there watching a little TV, the snow falling. Chris was busy up in front of the house, living room, kitchen, doing her business. TV was on, we weren't kind of seriously watching it. You know, like old friends, you just seamlessly talk. You just talk like it's just so natural. And at the end, we just kind of had a very poignant moment. And I didn't know we were going to have that moment. But you know what? I think Mike did. So Mike had more stones about addressing his mortality than I did. Again, we live in denial. We don't want it to happen. Selflessly, we want that person to stay with us. Snow was falling. I was worried about getting home in the snow, and Mike was too. He looked at me and he said, "You should go." And I didn't grasp the cues. I didn't get it. As insightful as I think I am, I totally missed everything. I looked back and I thought, you know what? It was the snow. It was the anomaly of that crazy weather we had. It was just foreshadowing. I didn't pick up any of that. And weirdly, my mind turned to just getting home safely. It's human, I know it is. Mike knew it. He was smarter than me. He was like an older brother to me. He was wiser. What do you expect from a guy who traveled around the United States and traveled around Southeast Asia? I didn't think on March 5th that a month later I'd be here at former Camp Hahn talking and being here once again. There's bittersweet memories here. The only thing I can say is a very nice day out. I'm glad that it is. So Mike spent his time preparing for his own mortality by having a big spiritual base that he was prepared for through his relationship with the Lord. The Lord has been with him. Back in 1968 when I moved here, Mike went in the Navy on the ship in the Vietnam War. With Mike, with all of us, we went out and did sometimes dangerous work for probation. So more than sharing a few things in common with Gary Rosington and Leonard Skinner, his music, heart problems, God took them on the same date. Kind of weird wondering, do they know each other up in heaven? Have they met? Did Gary Rosington even make it? I don't know his spiritual beliefs. I don't know his spiritual status. Some people believe in their own religion and their own faith that they'll come back as other animals. Did Gary Rosington think that? Did he think he'd be a free bird flying up there? Is that where the song came from? Looking down high above us, above the tall tower that used to be here, that we used to climb? I don't know. I don't judge. I just know this, that Mike was in good standing with the Lord. I'm sure the Lord said to him, welcome, my good and faithful servant. And I could say this, if Mike Owens didn't make it, I don't think Gary Rosington did, okay? And it's pure speculation. So, I was going to read a Bible verse, and I wasn't sure what to read. I thought while I'm down here, I'll go visit my mother's grave. It's right over there. My mother got out of the service early for 4 reasons, me and my 3 brothers. She got out as a first lieutenant, as a registered nurse. I thought, well, I'll bring her Bible down here for Mom. This is her Bible. We had it in the family for how many years? I don't know. I remember it as a kid, even living out here, sitting on a bookshelf. It's not a working Bible. It's a keepsake, of course. And I got it out and dusted off. And I thought, what do I read? I looked it up. There's 23,145 verses in the Bible. Which one do you read today, right? So open it up. It's been many years. I don't think it's a coincidence, but as I did, there's a cloth bookmark here. Right at Psalms 139. I started reading it. I thought this is fitting. I'll just read a few verses. It says, O Lord, you have probed me, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I stand. You understand my thoughts from afar. My journeys and my rest you scrutinize. With all my ways you are familiar. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know the whole of it. Behind me and before me you hem me in, and you rest your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. Where can I go from your spirit? From your presence, where can I flee? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I sink to the netherworld, you are present there. If I take the wings of dawn, if I settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall guide me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. And if I say, surely the darkness shall hide me, and night shall be my light. For you, darkness is not dark. It's not dark at all, and night shines in the day. Truly you have formed my innermost being. You knit me in my mother's womb. I give you thanks that I am fearfully and wonderfully and woefully made. My soul also knew you well, nor was my frame unknown to you. When I was made in secret, when I was fashioned in the depths of the earth. Your eyes have seen my action. In your book, they're all written. My days were limited before even one of them started. How weighty are your designs, O God, how vast are the sum of them. Were I to recount them, they would outnumber the sands. Did I reach the end of them, I should still be with you. So in conclusion, I can't believe it's been a month since Mike passed. Let time go. Slips through our fingers like sand until there is no more. No different than the soldiers that were here 85 years ago that presumably passed as well. No doubt. And in that same spirit, the spirit of Psalm 139 and Michael's memory, we'll soldier on as well until our time is ready. So in the meantime, I can hear Mike say, enjoy life and take comfort in the Lord. As he says, if you are with me, then I am with you.